Hi, boys and girls. Today, this is Math, Chapter 11, Lesson 7. We are going to learn about a new way or a new unit of measurement. This new unit of measurement is actually used all around the world. Okay, the only place that uses inches as their main way to measure is the United States. Every other country uses something called the metric system. So their measurements are based on the metric system, millimeters, centimeters, kilometers is used to measure long distances, and then the standard meter. So I sent in the email a meter stick that you can create. Okay, so it looks like this in your email. If you cut apart each of the sections, and then I use tape, I taped them together where they overlap. And I'll show you. I created a meter stick. Now, before we begin, this is different than a yardstick. So, a yardstick, I'm going to see if I can hold them both at the same time. A yardstick uses inches. Okay, remember we had 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. A yardstick uses inches to measure. Okay, 36 inches are in a yard. Now, when I hold up my meter stick, I want you to notice that it is not the same length. So I'm going to start them at the same place. And my meter stick is just paper, so it's a little harder to hold. A meter stick trying to line it up. A meter stick is slightly longer than a yardstick. Okay, it ends up being in between 3 and 4 inches longer than a yardstick. Now, my meter stick is using something different. We are not talking about inches today. My meter stick, pointing out 1 through 10, those numbers are closer together. They are called centimeters. If you have a ruler similar to mine, right now at the top, I'm showing you the inches. If I flip my ruler around, this ruler also includes centimeters and millimeters. So I'll hold it a little bit closer. As you can see, it is labeled on this side with mm for millimeter and cm for centimeter. Okay, so when we are using our meter stick is made up of 100 centimeters. So a meter stick is 100 centimeters long. Centi, C-E-N-T-I, which comes before the word or in the beginning of the word centimeter, means 100. Century is 100 years. Centimeter is 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter long. So centi The beginning of that word is 100. So there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So you can use this to measure, okay, your paper, or you might have a meter stick like your yardstick. Now, what you're going to need to look carefully is that it is measuring in centimeters, not in inches. Okay, I have some at school. I don't even have one at my house. So that's why I printed out the paper also. You might also want to use your ruler only if it has the centimeter measurements also. Okay, now inside each centimeter is 10 millimeters. Okay, they are even smaller way to measure. Those are these very tiny lines in between the 0 and the 1. There are 9 lines in between because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. Okay, so today we're going to focus on 2 new ways to measure. First way is centimeters. Second way is meters. So make sure that you have your meter stick ready. One of these is equal to 1 meter. And if you look from the 0 to the 1, that is 1 centimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen for our lesson. Brings us right to here. When is it appropriate to measure in centimeters and meters? So on the top line there is an inch ruler. Okay, like I said, I have my ruler that I could use one side for inches and flip it over and use the other side for centimeters. But if you notice, there is a difference between centimeters and inches. 1 centimeter, okay, so just 1 centimeter, is much shorter than 1 inch. So centimeters are great to use when you are measuring something that is small, okay? If I am trying to measure the width, so not the length, but the width of my marker, it is very small. I know that it's smaller than an inch. So I could say, well, it's less than an inch. Instead, I can use centimeters. Okay, so even though the United States doesn't use centimeters all the time, we still know how to measure with centimeters. Okay, and so if I'm going to measure the width of this marker, I would line up one side to the 0, and you will notice that this is 1 centimeter wide. And I could also measure how long it is. It is about 16 centimeters long. So if I'm measuring something small, like the width of this marker, I can use centimeters. Because just like inches, my 1 centimeter would be the exact same as your 1 centimeter. Okay, so sometimes it is appropriate to use centimeters and meters if we're measuring something that's very small. It is also important if you were ever ordering something from another country. Okay, they are going to put their measurements in centimeters and meters. So you would need to know, how to use centimeters and meters. If you've ever traveled anywhere outside of the United States, they use kilometers to measure how far away something is. They don't use miles like we do here in the United States. So there is a difference in the lengths. So it's important that we know both of them. And my favorite thing, as you should know from class, is that we must label our answer, okay? Because 1 inch, as you can see up on the screen, is very different than 1 centimeter. So as long as I label my answer, everyone will know how I'm measuring. So make sure even today in your book, you're going to see that it is labeled either centimeter or meter. All right, so please have your book ready as well as your meter stick for this lesson. If you have a ruler that has the centimeter measurements on it, you might also want to grab a ruler because there are some smaller objects to measure, okay? Or you can use this for the whole thing, your choice. All right, so let me keep going a little bit further in the lesson, and then I want you to go ahead and get started to measure these objects, all right? So here are the samples. Like I have said in other chapters, if you do not have these objects, then go ahead and measure something else that's similar. So you'll notice like a glue, crayons, they're pretty small, a chair, a little bit bigger. You're measuring them in centimeters, okay? So you need your meter stick and you are looking at the centimeter marks here. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. And I'm just going to practice a few measurements, and then in your book, I'll show you what you're going to do, okay? So we're back to estimating and measuring. So before you measure, try to estimate. Now remember, when we're talking about centimeters, they are definitely smaller, okay? My pinky is about 1 centimeter wide. So if I'm measuring something, I have to think like, okay, now we're down to something rather small. So I am going to estimate first. Haven't measured this at all yet, so I don't know. All right, I'm looking at my roll of tape. My roll of tape, I think, is going to be about, because remember, I did see about how wide a centimeter is. It's about the length of my pinky, so I'm going to guess it's about 8 centimeters long. So I write that in my book if I was measuring tape, and now I match up my tape at the 0. And the tape roll, as you can see, it's perfect right at the 10 centimeter mark. So I was about 2 centimeters too short. Okay. Estimate first, which is take an educated guess based on how you you feel, how many centimeters you feel would be in the object. I'll do one more. Let's do another marker. Okay, this is a different marker. This is a whiteboard marker. And I think this is going to be about 15 centimeters, okay? I know that it's bigger than my roll of tape, so I know I better guess a higher number. So let's see, I'm gonna line it up. I said 15, ooh, pretty close. 14, all right, 14 centimeters for my marker. So I estimated 15 centimeters, I measured 14 centimeters. So you write both numbers in your book. Hopefully, by the time you get to the second and third page of this lesson, your measurements and your estimations are pretty close. So you're getting to be a better estimator and for about how long the objects are, all right? So read your labels. Some things are going to ask in centimeters. So how many centimeters is my marker? Remember, it was 14 centimeters. So that is the small numbers labeled here on my meter stick. Now, it is going to ask you on page 686 to measure the height of a desk in meters. One whole length of this is 1 meter. So if I hold this up to the ground, it is about this tall, which is about the height of a desk. I could estimate that the height of a desk is about 1 meter. Then when I go to measure it, it might be a little less than a meter, it might be a little more than a meter, but it's about 1 meter. Some of the other examples would be the height of a door. So if 1 meter is about the height of a desk, then when I'm estimating, remember that this is the length of 1 meter. So how tall do you think a door is? Okay, so use what you know about measuring when you're making your estimations. So today you are going to be estimating and measuring using centimeters and meters. So make sure you have your meter stick printed out and ready. And you will also be doing the same for the homework pages, estimating and measuring. I was just checking to make sure, but it looks like as long as you have your meter stick, you'll be ready to go. So have fun measuring. And remember that United States is the only country that does not use this type of measuring. So if you ever travel anywhere else or ever live outside of this country, you'll definitely need to learn all about centimeters and meters.